Hey, how's it going? My name is Andre Bernier. I'm a Los Angeles-based keys and bass player, and today I want to talk about how to set up a Nord piano or a Nord Electro for CCM patches. Let's get into it. So a friend of mine recently came to me and said, I'm thinking about making the switch to Nord, and I'm wondering what model you would recommend. She leads worship a lot, and so portability is a factor, but also key feel is a factor, and so I recommended the Piano 5 Hammer Action 73. This is a really premium board if you lead worship and you don't necessarily need all the capabilities of the Stage 4, but also maybe you want a better key feel than what's on the Electro. If key feel is not a factor, I would say just go with the Electro 60, either 73 or 61, it's whatever makes you comfortable. I happen to gig a lot with the 61 myself, and I really like that. So the patches I'm going to demonstrate today are going to be on that 61 key Electro, but you can translate these patches to any of the keyboards that utilize the sample synth section. This would be the Piano 5 and Piano 6, as well as anything in the Electro series. Let's get into it. Now, I just made a video comparing the Electro to the Stage 4, and I said you probably don't need a Stage 4. And I want to play you the patches I use for CCM on the Electro, and then the exact same patches that I use on the Stage 4. And I made the Stage 4 admittedly to sound like the patch that I use on the Electro, but I want you to hear how close these sound. So first up, Stage 4. Electro. Stage 4. And here's the chorus patch that I use. Electro. So let's talk about this a little bit. Number one, I really only ever use one synth patch on the Electro. Now, you'll notice this has the sample synth section, it doesn't have the full synth section, and so you're a lot more limited in what you can do. But actually that's not a problem thanks to this one sound, and it's A1 the Prophet. A1 the Prophet sounds like this. This is with the filter button on. The Prophet, to me, probably means Prophet 5, I would assume, at least some kind of Prophet. If it's not a Prophet 5, it could be a sequential, Prophet 6 or Rev 2, but to me this sounds like a Prophet 5. And here it is with the filter button off. This synth sound is so great because it fits in a variety of different locations. You know, you can use this on wedding gigs, you can use this all over the place, but I really use this as my main and only synth sound on the Electro. Honestly, yes, I would use other synth sounds where I needed to, but this is, by and large, the only one that I ever use. And so, in a CCM context, normally how I keep things on the Electro is I will keep my piano at -2 decibels. This means if I need to just give a little more volume, I have that headroom to do so, but I keep all my pianos on all my presets at -2. And I'm using the white grand because I think the white grand is the most versatile piano. I highly recommend sticking with this, with the exception of underscoring, which I will cover later. The Prophet is the synth sound I'm using. And honestly, how I keep my volume on my synth is always like this. See that? 3/4 the way up on piano, so -2, and then I keep it somewhere around just 5 out of 10 for synth. And this is a good starting place, right? Both the white grand and the Prophet are kept away from my left foot as far as volume pedal goes. And what this does is it keeps the volume very consistent on these. I always know how loud they'll be. But on my left foot, I do have the organ. You can see the control pedal right here. And I can fade it in and out. And this is really nice because it's another texture you can play with. I also have a split point set on my Electro so that organ is only happening above this C, right? And so I should also get into how I think about octaves. I am on a 61 keyboard, so I actually have the whole board an octave down, but the organ I have an octave up. And so this is at octave 1, right? Octave 1. This is at -1, and this is also at -1. And when it comes time for chorus, thanks to these seamless transitions, I can just hit that. This is just sort of a preset drawbars, bigger sort of thing. It doesn't have to be scientific. Just kind of adjust it to taste. You can kind of pull them out. I recommend keeping the white drawbars a little bit more forward than this second drawbar or any of these black drawbars, because you'll see these are partials, right? And by partials, I mean these are overtones, which is to say they're not fundamentals. This first one is actually a sub harmonic, the 16 stop. So that is a fundamental. And then all of these white drawbars are also fundamentals. This means it'll give you a more consonant sound to have more of these white ones pushed forward than to have, say, more of these black ones pushed forward, which sounds like this. Just a little more shiny and a little more, I don't know. This is what I prefer. You still get a bit of that glisten from the black drawbars, you know? But it's not so brittle. Like that. It's a little brittle. It's all right. And try to stay away from just that. I don't love it at full on the Nord. It just doesn't sound super musical to me. It's just got a lot of peaks that you're going to have to tame. By and large, when I am playing this, all that's really happening is the filter is coming off of A1 the Prophet. Again, it's still at the same volume. And then the white grand is at -2, the exact same thing. Nothing's changed in terms of keyboard touch. And the organ, I have a preset amount of just drawbars out more full than before. Wow, you can hear how long that trail is. That's 3 seconds of trail on that synth. That's honestly surprising. I haven't used this in quite a long time, so that's quite a surprising thing to me. Let's hear this on the stage 4. Here's what it sounds like on the stage 4. Back to verse. So that pretty much covers the verse and the chorus for this patch. I don't know if this is helpful or not, but just to give you the exact numbers of what decibels I'm using on the actual patch and every single section straight down, piano is at -2 out of 2. By the way, you can hold shift and move any knob and it will tell you what the value of that knob is without changing that value, just so you know that about the Electro. And then the sample synth is at -12.5, so that looks like this, so just under half. And then the organ is at 0, which makes sense because it's attached to my foot. So I want all of the volume control for the organ to come from my foot. I don't want any volume control coming from the board itself. So all of that is coming from my left foot. No chorus on the organ, no percussion on the organ. That's very important. If you put on percussion, it actually disables access to this last drawbar. And we want that last drawbar because that's what kind of gives us a little bit of that gospel thing. Here it is without it. It's gorgeous. So make sure this isn't on because also it'll just be very jarring. That's not the sound that we want. So mainly, and it might have been a byproduct of things being divided into 4 on the Nord ecosystem, but I really use 4 patches for CCM. And it goes like this. We have CCM verse, which I already showed you. CCM chorus, which is just a louder version of CCM verse. But again, notice how the piano section is exactly the same, right? Same keyboard touch, same keyboard touch. Filter section is off, as I mentioned, on sample synth. But I also have CCM down. Now, I actually have a custom patch that I bounced in here from my actual Prophet Rev 2. So let's not play with that because that feels like cheating a little bit. But CCM down works like this. If you've ever played CCM, you might know the regular structure is sort of this like verse, chorus, really down. And then build for like 10 minutes, right? Well, that's what CCM down is for. And it tries to follow the progression of the song so I can just easily go straight there. Here's the CCM down patch. For the first time, the piano is actually different. And the way that the piano is different is the piano doesn't have any of the brightness settings, right? Here it is on 3. That's pretty bright. If I keep the brightness off so it's just keyboard touch normal, I can get really quiet with it if I need to. In contrast to verse, you can hear that's a lot just more forward sounding. Get you fired at any CCM church in the nation. So that brings us to the last patch, CCM Underscore. The song is finished. The pastor is now talking. This is the point that I would jump to this patch. Now this patch is with a different piano, and it's the first time that you've seen it be with a piano that's not the white grand, because you shouldn't change pianos mid-song. It's going to throw off the sound engineer. It's going to throw off the audience. It just doesn't sound right. But you have a real opportunity to change timbre and change the entire feeling of what's going on stage once the song is done. Thanks to the seamless transitions, you can actually end a song really big and then immediately go into the underscore patch, and that would sound like this. So actually, right before I started doing this demonstration, I loaded a piano that I have not had on this board. So I loaded on the soft grand, which is something I'm a huge fan of now, and I've never tried this patch with the soft grand. But I'd like to recommend the soft grand over the felt grand, and I'm going to hear this at the same time you're going to hear this. Sorry for playing in G major so much in this for some reason. We're going to hear this at the same time as each other, because this piano, I think, is more defined than the felt, and I think would work better in a big room scenario. So here we go. Here's the underscore patch with the soft grand, which is my recommendation. That's a little busy for an underscore. But if I really were going to underscore, I'd do maybe more something like this. Now keep in mind, this is mapped to my left foot. The synth is mapped to my left foot. This is the only time this happens. Any of the other patches, you can see the synth is not mapped because I wanted it at a consistent volume. But really listen out for how that synth manifests itself as the primary element of this patch when you sustain long piano chords. Here we go. I'm going to switch it to the white grand. Sorry, I'm going to switch it to the soft grand. To me, that's way better. For reverb, I have 7.1. You don't have to be afraid of it. But that's really my main two recommendations, is the white grand and the soft grand. You can get by every gig you do with those two boards. Play around with the synth sound. You know, I'm a really big fan of keeping it simple because it makes all the variables, I have to just deal with the variables. I don't have to worry about the actual sound itself. And I really, really like that. But there are lots of great synth sounds for this board. This is just the one that I gravitate to the most. So again, to sum up, CCM verse, this is the white grand. Keep in mind, touch is pretty heavy. You're hitting it, but you want it to be bright. If this sounds bright, that's actually a good thing. You want it to cut, you know? When you're doing like that, And don't be afraid to turn on off the Leslie. Maybe I pull out these two. Keep in mind the rest of these aren't affecting anything because I'm on the preset. Let's say we're at the pre. I'm not playing any song, I'm just kind of going, you know? Chorus. Keep in mind, my left hand is not playing any organ. There's no organ below this split point right here. I can fade out the organ entirely if it's not appropriate for the song. Now it's just synth and piano. Let's say we're going to the bridge, to the down part. Here we go. Let's just say it's the end of the song. My left foot is now controlling the synth. These patches should get you through plenty fine, and you really don't need to overcomplicate it. Soft grand, white grand, A1 the Prophet, map your organ to be halfway up, add a little bit of drive on your rotary. I find that makes it sound more real. I'm using 4 out of 10 on the drive, and I highly recommend that. I also like to add a vibrato modulation to the synth, which is something you should play around with because I think it kind of makes it sound more like an LFO sort of deal. Even though I'm hitting the deep version of it, I still don't think of it as very crazy. Here it is off. Here it is on. It's very slight, and I have the rate at 2.5, so it's not doing anything crazy. You don't need to reinvent the wheel with your patches. That sort of less is more, and that's good news. So those are my recommendations. These are what you would use during a song itself, right? Verse, chorus, bridge, and then back to the chorus most likely, and then you could quickly go to underscore. Both of these are great boards. I said in my last video, most people just need an Electro. I stand by that conclusion. You really don't need a stage 4. Yes, the pitch bend is nice. Yes, the synth section is nice if you know how to program it. But even that programming probably took me 30 minutes to get the patch sounding the way I wanted it to sound. Whereas with this one, A1 the Prophet, and you are immediately where you want to be. They're both great boards. I highly recommend the Electro. And anything I've said about the Electro, as I said in the intro, you can apply to the piano. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much, guys. Until next time, I'm Andre Bernier. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Thank you.